The Streets Are Dead Easter episode. Had to chime in on Flakko, the fake detective, seemingly making up a scenario about who killed Draco the Ruler. I mean, I guess what he said might be true, but he presented no evidence. So he's dressed up, I guess, to make fun of Blood's gang members and Munchie B or whatever his outfit is for. He's engaging in visual comedy, I guess, and he proposes that he's figured out that this guy, Frank Williams, aka Frankenstone, stazabbed Draco the Ruler. It's been, 5 years now? At Rolling Loud. But I in my ongoing quest to keep you out of the streets, gang edition, let's look at Draco's whole situation that led up to now him just, despite he's one of very few rappers that actually is musically interesting, and of all the people that made rap songs, of course, tiny handful, shout out to all my Detroit guys that actually Drake, very few people do anything that influences anybody, and Draco is one of a handful of from anywhere. So he was someone that really was a creative person, and LAPD still hasn't solved his murder, but they wanted to give him life for a homicide he really had nothing to do with. So let's flash back. Draco starts rapping 2015. He gets popular 2016. He really only has 6 years, 3 of which he's locked up. So from 2016 to 2019, he's out. And then did he get locked up in 2019 for the murder case? So the story of the Stink Team and how the homicide of Munchie B's friend Red Bull happened is really, I mean, not that I'm the arbiter of who gets to, be outside or whatever, because these guys are really doing what they do. They, people are getting killed, so they're the real deal in that sense. But the mistakes that they make and the things that happen, it just makes you wonder, like, is the whole point to get caught in the first place? So there's 2 shooters convicted in the Red Bull homicide, AB and Kels. So they go to the Pajama Jam party with Draco that night in 2016. They're beefing with the Inglewood families, whatever. They see Red Bull. Kels confesses, and immediately him and AB air out Red Bull. They take his life. Draco, another guy, duck. I really don't. Well, the LA prosecutor's office was weird what cases they pick and choose. Well, I guess it's not weird. They don't want there to be gangs in LA, and they certainly don't want there to be gang homicides. So, but the smartest thing you could do, especially if you're a black male, I mean, Hispanics have it too, but the black male is really getting the pressure. Do not present yourself as any type of gang member, because that case that the district attorney concocted to try to get Draco, and listen, maybe Draco did want to go there and kill somebody, I don't know, but the case they had to concoct was pretty crazy. But what's to my point of wondering if when these people are dancing with the devil, they really do want to get caught. Kels grew up in a 7,000 square foot home. The shooter, the Stink Team shooter, his father supposedly was a music producer, and that's how he afforded the house. But there's no record. People can't. Everyone's trying to figure out, well, music produced what? What songs did he produce? If anybody knows, let me know, because the other innuendo is that, well, really, he was a street guy that made a lot of money, and so they had a big house in the Westmont area. LA has neighborhoods with big, beautiful houses that have some very dangerous gangs in them. Part of the rolling 60s, the Overhills part of that is it's beautiful. It's the Hollywood Hills. Are the people that are from there, that are in the gangs, are they soft, weak wannabes? They got to prove themselves? Not necessarily. And my documentary work, if you don't know my work, I've done many documentaries, a lot of them on, well, the large-scale drug trade, and several have been on some of America's largest black drug traffickers of the 70s and 80s, and I've come to be friends. I'm organized with Courtney Brown. I mean, I know people that are the children of people that were the biggest black drug traffickers at different times in America. So you may grow up, and then I also have personal friends that grew up like that on a not quite that scale, but basically people that their fathers and different stuff were some of the biggest people in the city of Detroit and other places. I've come to know people in LA whose parent was, at a level, and there was murders and all this and that. Cavario is well documented his history in his book Raised by Wolves. So some of these kids, they're like, you're on the surface they seem like black suburban, and well, why are you in a gang or this and that? But they're like the children of Italian mafia members. If you might be living in a nice house and have the income, but if your father or mother did serious criminal acts to earn it, doesn't mean that they're crazy or that they're training you to be violent in the household or anything. They probably don't want that. But it's definitely your value system is not going to be a middle-class value system. Kels clearly didn't have a middle-class value system, despite growing up in a big-ass house in an area of LA that looks nice, but it's got the rolling hundreds Crips, which is one of the most active groups. I think I saw a gym. That was the first time I got spooked in LA. We got off on the wrong exit. Where we get off? We got off on the 110 in Century, which is 100th. And there was a Jim Dandy's Chicken there. And that's what I told my boy. I said, okay, take note. Anytime there's a Jim Dandy's Chicken, there's gang violence nearby. And I've lived by that in LA. If it's a Jim Dandy's Chicken where you're at, be on alert. You're in a dangerous area. Anyways, so Kels, so this murder happens at the of Red Bull, and time is passing, and there's no one's on camera. There's people on camera, but they can't see their face. Kels is in, I don't know if he was rapping in the video or he was in one of the Stink Team videos. I don't even think he was rapping. He briefly, how everybody holding up a gun. Take heed to this, fellas. He briefly has a gun. They freeze frame it, take a screenshot, and zoom in and find the serial number and supposedly match it to the ballistics of the homicide of Red Bull. So now they run up in the house. The person they get with the gun isn't the shooter, but he's already to get a burglary case. So they're like, oh, we're going to 3-strike you. You're going to get life. They can play hardball in LA County. Now, even though they lie about the strike stuff and, the judge still, it's not up to the prosecutor if you get a strike or this, that, or third. But I'm sure it's very scary to be like, gee, I only had one case. I broke in a house when I was 18. Now I got caught with a gun and you talking about I can get life? So that guy ended up not getting life, but he got some time. They pick up AB in Kels. AB gets, listen, they out for the gangs. The Olympics is coming. There's going to be no gangs. They they call him a fake OG from the East Coast Crips, but I think he might have been he was some type of gang member. I don't know, he's from East Coast Crips. I don't know. But they put a gang member in a cell who was an older guy, who probably was somebody who was trying to work off a case. People are in jail working off cases. Put me in the cell with the kid with the murder case. And the police feed them some information. Never, ever. That's why when I heard about this, oh, when you go into jail, you're supposed to tell and show your paperwork. Like, you better be careful with that, because a person can look at your paperwork and be like, oh, okay, there's a suspect had a red shirt. Now he can go jailhouse snitch on you. He has some information. But that's a whole nother issue. Anyways, AB confesses to this so-called OG. Boom, this guy's wearing a wire in the jail cell. Now, how I know they want the gangs gone bad? That's a murder case. Someone I know that just had an assault, not with a gun, beat somebody up. He feels like he only got on the radar because some of the other people in the case, they weren't like trying to set him up, but just they said something about it on the jailhouse phone or something. Mind you, this is nothing. This was someone got beaten. This wasn't someone beat half to death. This is like someone punched up. You know, not even a big deal case in the D8, because I would imagine these people are so-called members of one of LA's infamous gangs. I think that any time, because it was funny, any guys I knew that were in this gang that would have any charge of anything that would seem like, oh, he'll be out Monday, they would always find a way to keep them no bail for a month. And I'd be like, how are you got this petty case, how do you not have bail? Like, and it just seems like they're trying to, if you're from certain gangs or maybe any gang, active, whatever, they're trying to keep you in jail to see, can they put someone in a cell with you? You're going to confess to something, have you around somebody. They got access to now, they taking your prints and your DNA over and over, and they can keep running them against databases, because sometimes it takes a while for stuff to come back. They got you in custody. Let's go put your face in a 6-pack and show it to witnesses and unsolved homicides around your neighborhood. If you're in a gang in LA and you go into the county jail for the slightest thing, if you're in an active gang, I think they're holding you excess time to give them time to run your face, to see, will you say something stupid? I would hide your gang affiliation, if anything. But anyway, so Kels and AB end up going down because, again, the serial number of the gun was seen in a music video, in the Draco music video. So you kill somebody, you dump the guns. Running around with a gun with multiple bodies, guns are not that expensive. I mean, if you're a bum, if you're a crackhead, stick up, man. But like, the amount of guns everybody has now, like, you can afford to throw one away. You kill somebody, dump the gun. Don't sell it. Because you sell somebody a gun with a body on it, and they get caught with it. Oh, guess who's telling? So they didn't get rid of the gun, so this leads to this situation. And the AB guy confesses. Kels goes from being a kid with a skateboard career where he was actually getting sponsorships to he has become the monster. He is the dangerous Crip doing 100 years. So, you know, we all grow up. And you might turn into something different than people thought. If you try hard enough at something, you'll become that. So Draco sits in jail half of his whole career, 2016 to 2021. 3 years he's in the county jail. The county jail is miserable. Stink team is basically like a Crip set. He's in there fighting this and that. He gets out. So my only, my friend, shout out to my friend. I don't know if he wants me to say the story or put his name in it, but he was working, he's an upstanding citizen, as all people should be, and he's working his, got dark in here. He's working his job at a major chain tire place. And this is, so remember, Draco's just gotten out of prison. He's got the Rolls Royce or whatever he had, and he's wearing the jewelry. Ingleweird may have come out or whatever, but even if it hadn't come out yet, all this beef stuff is happening. He comes rolling in to my friend's tire, well, not his place, it's one of the big major chain places. And it's in South Central, like it's in somewhere in South Central's a huge area. It's somewhere down in Inglewood, Manchester, somewhere down in there. He comes rolling in on his rim. So you're on a Rolls Royce, the tire is completely blown. So he's driving on a rim down maybe Manchester. He pulls in there, he's frantic. He's by himself or what? He's with a girl. He's got no gun. He's wearing his jewelry. There's no donut in the car. And I don't think he had Uber. Because I think my friend was telling him, like, well, you probably shouldn't, like, we'll take care of your car, but, obviously you shouldn't, like, sit here, like, catch an Uber. Did my friend call him an Uber? I forget what the hell happened. But I remember he told me that story, and I was like, oh, he's going to be dead soon. If that's how he's moving around. Like, you're a moving target. You're by yourself or with a girl. Maybe he was with a girl. No gun. Not that he should be riding around with a gun, but that's why you shouldn't be riding around. And you're not even, how does your tire get so blown out that you're driving on the rim and you don't have Uber? You got nobody trailing you. You got a Rolls Royce, a neck full of jewelry. You're making money off of making songs, some of which are specifically, incitements to retaliatory violence, let's just say. And you just by yourself. There's no trail car. So that's been interesting for me. For those that don't know, my first paid entertainment industry work, besides hanging with the ladies for money, was making music videos back in from 04 to, I've made them here and there since then, but like from 04 to 010 or 09, I was the guy in Detroit. I was making videos for all the wave of rappers that basically was before all the ones you heard of. So the guys, the music videos, they grew up watching the local videos. The other people made them too, Darren Brown, but I was like kind of one of the main, I probably made the most, and that's where my name got made. So I've been around the rap stuff, but it's interesting. Even back then, this 20 years ago, I saw it happen. It's a long time ago, nothing to hide. Like, it's almost all people, drug dealers, paying me, but they would have a rapper. Usually. Sometimes the drug dealer would be the rapper, but so either they were drug dealers or behind them, like active drug dealers, or they were drug dealers in Detroit. Now, to sell drugs in Detroit and make some type of money, especially 20 years ago when there were still people here, you're gonna move a certain way, just as far as security. I've shot music videos in almost every neighborhood in Detroit. Never had any incidents, because the people that were doing that stuff then, you had to have a little bit of money to even go to the studio. When I say a little bit of money, I mean a little. some thousands of dollars. I'm not saying everyone was some drug kingpin, but you know, you had to have your little active little spot, or you was running through some hundreds of pounds of weed. Like, you know, you were like an actual dealer, because by the time you go to the studio and then you pay for them, people would spend another couple hundred to get their song mastered. Then there was no social media, or that was just starting MySpace. You would have to pay that was where the money really came in. You would have to, if you were really trying to do something, you had to pay DJs to play your music at the clubs, at the cabaret hall, much less on the radio. Shout out to my man Ben Scott, Tone Scott, the program director, AK, all the different people. Those are two of my chief employers. Neither of them are drug dealers, though, coincidentally. Not them. Especially not Ben. Especially not AK. So anyways, to be even trying to rap, like, you had to have some kind of money. Some thousands at least that you could spend. So all of the guys I was dealing with, there were definitely, like, Ben was a successful businessman that had a big telemarketing, had hundreds of employees. They had his group Black Lagoon. Shout out to the fellas. But for the most part, they were street people, or they had guys behind them that were actually making some money. So they had already, they wouldn't be alive if they didn't know the basics of how to move around and operate in the streets. But who we have rapping now, they are people from the same type of neighborhoods. It's not that they're not whatever it is that you're supposed to be if you're from wherever. But they just were residents. They just lived there. Or maybe they're in a gang, but they never, clearly never, they weren't doing things. They weren't moving around. I mean, some of them, I mean, you can tell the difference between different people of how they move around. Say what you want about Whack 100. That never happened to Game. Nobody beat up Blueface. I mean, he must know how to move around to some degree. I know how he has different studios and stuff set up. Whack 100's been around, like he knows how to move around to some degree. Say what you want about whatever else. But it's sad seeing now in this term crash out, which now has that become like something to aspire to be? Like is that good? Like, because it started as a put down, but it seems like you're supposed to be a crash out now. Is that what it's come down to? Is that all that's left? Remember the YSL trial? Little Woody, he's more popular than Young Thug is now. Think about that. Think about how crazy and weird and how everything flipped, or not everything actually flipped, but the perception of things. Because once Young Thug, when he got interviewed, all his mystique, poof, went away. You were just like, who's this guy? But I'm getting off the topic of Draco and Flakko. Flakko, Poetic Flakko, in his quest for views. And he's not the only person guilty of this. The whole YouTube and every demographic is doing it. Listen, I've put up stories about Young Dolph's killers and used footage and all that, so that's fine. And this particular one, Flakko, I didn't see where you where is the proof of anything? So you have this guy, Frank Williams, that wears a BPS chain. If you see the X5, that means 5 up, no cut. BPS 5 times. And he was on camera around there, and he had a double murder back in 2004 when the Bloods were beefing with 18th Street, and that was when the infamous Jamil Shaw case happened, where the Hispanic gang members executed the aspiring young football player who wasn't a Blood, and it was a big national news thing. because there was an uptick in gang violence back then. This Frankenstone, Frank Williams, he was convicted of murkifying 2 people. And then he did some time and he came back on appeal. And it was thrown out. Now, there's something else is weird with this guy. Not weird, but there's another component to the story, because when everyone was being questioned in that homicide of the 2 young Hispanics that were killed at a house party on West Adams back in 2004, another blood, according to the police, a rolling 20, but I don't take police reports as necessarily accurate, but some other blood started to basically said nobody likes Frank Williams, Frankenstone, meaning other gang members, because they were robbing a bank and the police came and the police killed the other guy and Frankenstone got away, and like people think it was his fault or some wild shit that would be interesting for somebody to investigate, I guess. I don't know, but that's in the statement. And then he does those couple of years, he comes home. He's out on bail now for a murder. And so this Frankenstone, this BPS member, Frank Williams, he got charged about a year or 2 ago with a homicide, a stabbing death. And he got $1 million bail bond recently. And I see people in the comments are wondering, like, how these gang members get out on these $1 million bails? Everybody, grandma's house in the hood is worth $1 million in LA. My grandma's house was worth $90,000. Everyone's house in the hood is worth $600,000-$700,000 at the least and up, even in the bad neighborhoods in LA. It's so expensive. So these guys' grandma is putting the house up. That's how they all are out. Or their mother, auntie, somebody is putting the house up. And I'm not saying that in a disparaging way, because guess who had to have a house put up for him? So people's family come and, when your loved one needs the house signed up for to get them out of that county jail, you get them out. So he has a pending stabbing case. I don't know where. I guess there's footage, Poetic Flakko, but there's no correlation. I think that and then he said that YG's bodyguard gloves, everyone knows he brought in the knives. I think Flakko gets DM'd. Oh, so what's the point of this whole story here? Besides, you should stay out of the street. The internet is propaganda. So just like Iran and the U.S. is lying and Israel's lying about the war, street people, the police use these Instagram accounts and these websites and reporters. I think that one of my reporting friends sometimes gets used like this. He has a lot of federal agent contacts, and I think that they tell him stuff. Oh, we got so-and-so under investigation, and so-and-so is doing such and such, and he puts out articles about it. But I think that sometimes they don't really know that the person's doing that. They think they might be, and so they tell their journalist source, this is what the police are probably doing with Flakko, knowing that he's going to broadcast it. And I think that the police hope somebody's going to get scared and want to get down first. Like, oh shit, I was with Frankenstone when he stabbed Draco. They about to solve Draco's murder. I was there. Let me go in and just tell it in advance. Which may happen. I don't know. But a lot of what's on YouTube is not really news. It's interesting when it is, though. The Yo Gotti case. I mean, not Yo Gotti. Freudian slip. The Young Dolph murder did get kind of, I think the Memphis police were able to if it hadn't been for the internet putting all these photos together, the internet wasn't me. Some young people in Memphis really did it. I took some of what they had and I did a story that got a lot of views. But they did it in Memphis because people don't like, everybody is not with, all the young people in these neighborhoods are not down with people getting killed and murdered. They got relatives, they don't want to live in Bodymore, Murderland, or Detroit, Michigan. They want the violence to stop. So they're playing detective on the internet. Poetic Flakko's trying to get views. I think somebody DM'd him information, anti-YG information he's been playing, from. But this is where it gets spooky. Look at Big U. Now, Big U appears to be guilty. I don't know. I'm not saying he is or isn't. But as we know from the write-ups in that case, law enforcement used social media to piece together a lot of the case. And in fact, Big U's use of social media is part of the RICO Act in and of itself. He uses social media to create an umbrella of fear, which he uses to extort people. So his YouTube posts, his appearance in that documentary, are predicate acts in the RICO, basically. Now, if YG, who has 400 records, who has different artists, a law enforcement could look and say, oh, YG was able to organize the Pyro Peace Walk in Compton. He organized the murder of Draco, which is what Flakko, because if YG's the most money earning blood rapper, I guess. If his bodyguard is always with him, brought in the knives, there's your conspiracy. So, I get it trying to get views, but you playing around with people's lives. You have no real evidence. You're getting DMs and you're saying things like, oh, the streets know, and the street guys told me. Well, how would you know what the streets know? You're not in the streets. People don't talk about that kind of stuff. I personally know probably people that, I don't know if they were at that event, but they the type of people that could have been. I've never been a topic of discussion with me. They don't talk about it. No one ever talked about it. I wouldn't ask about it. That was a smooth crime they did, though. The private investigator hired by Draco's family said there was he counted 113 people, mostly in red ski masks. Who knows who did it to Draco? Draco played around. Well, he used negative energy to make money when he didn't need to, because he was talented. He didn't know how to move around. He rolls into my friend's tire shop on the rim. No gun, no Uber, no trail car. Kels holding a murder weapon in a music video. They zoom in on the serial numbers. That's what caused the whole case to initially unravel. There was some other evidence also eventually, but that's what broke it open. And Draco made the LA prosecutor and the LAPD kind of look bad. They could be letting his murder case languish. But now somebody's tickling the wire using Flakko. If somebody could tell me where in Flakko's video does he present any evidence? The Frankenstone guy, he's around, he stabbed somebody, he's a killer, whatever. Where is there footage of him stabbing this guy? And if it was that clear cut, why wouldn't he be arrested? You really think 5 years would have passed and there's any smoking gun evidence? What they're trying to do, and this is why everybody, all you rappers, rappers that watch me, be very careful. obviously the police are using social media heavily as evidence, which, I mean, they should. I mean, they have to use something. But as someone that's interviewed a lot of police and prosecutors, like, I have a good sense of how the investigations go. Like, how did they figure out what some crime, you know, like some rough guy gets killed somewhere with a bunch of rough guys around in a bad neighborhood? How does that ever unravel? Well, lots of little birdies none of whom may know the truth are chirping, and sometimes, because people lie for attention, but the police now are creating social media accounts, and they're putting out their theories, and then they're seeing what people say. But I don't think the police may not quite understand what goes on the internet. Like, a lot of this information isn't real. People are just saying anything to get attention. People will say anything at all to get attention on the internet, and they'll make stuff up. They will put things in comments, though sometimes they're true, and it's interesting to figure out. But again, I'm just saying, in LA, we saw with Big U how much they used the social media to, as part of his case, and they're going to do that on everybody. But if a lot of what's on social media is false, like they were quoting Loose Cannon as if, I mean, Loose Cannon probably said some real stuff, and he was probably trolling sometimes too. But is Flakko trying to create a YG Bloods RICO? Is WAC 100, you know, is he in the mix? Does he control Flakko like some people say? I don't know. Somebody's feeding Flakko information with some type of agenda. And it's interesting to see how the world has gotten very, very weird. But propaganda should be a word at the front of your head. It's basically marketing, except for ideas instead of to sell you a product. I want you to think, you know, this or that. I don't know. Interesting. What do you guys think about these online sleuthing of murder cases that don't, like, listen, murder is bad. If you can solve an unsolved murder and you're a law-abiding citizen, okay. But just putting people's name and stuff with no real evidence, please, someone in the comments, tell me where the evidence that this Frankenstone guy, like, is there a video of him, or it's just Flakko's sources? And who told Flakko that gloves brought the knives in? Now, I will tell you this in general. If you're gang related, you got gang problems, you in a gang, you should be careful going to any of these public events or nightclubs. The security, you know, sometimes they're not gang members, but sometimes they are. And loyalty to the gang comes first. So, back when I was, like, during that time period, I could have gone to a lot of things with security. I could have been backstage at Rolling Loud with YG back, and with all different people that went with them. I really didn't want, I'd already experienced all that type of stuff, and I always thought there's always a chance some crazy shit's gonna happen. And it did at the Draco thing. That's why I didn't go to that type of stuff, and I'm glad. I could have been at that. Not that I'm special, I mean, a lot of people could, but if you live in LA and you out and about, you're gonna, and you know a few big guys, well then, you know, they do security sometimes, and blah, blah, blah. So, I don't think Draco's killing is gonna be solved. I mean, who knows? The person that did it may be dead. Whoever did it, whoever ran up in there as part of a group of 113 masked men and yanked on him, as they now say, was a wild guy. He may be deceased himself now. So, take everything you watch on the internet with a grain of salt, or two, propaganda is your word of the day. I do not think Poetic Flakko solved the murder of Draco at all. And I don't think YG is running some type of Bloods, organized crime, or any of that. Al Prophet, happy Easter, American Dope.